What's up, guys? It's the Moon Casual, coming back to you, well, from Anchor to Alaska, as I always do. So, I know it's been a long time since I've made a video. I probably re-recorded this video who knows how many times, and every single time something happens or just doesn't feel right. So hopefully this time it will. So, I've been going over in my head what do I want to talk about in this video specifically. And each one I want to break down, like, classic, modern, however you want to word it. But I think it's better right now, specifically, to talk about Warcraft Direct. Because it's coming up, because the announcements are going to be impactful. And 3, honestly, I have such jumbled thoughts about everything when it comes to the game right now, it's not even funny. I'm still kind of processing, how I want to talk about them, because every single time I try, things get jumbled. It's just unfortunate, one of those things, like you got so many things going around your head, when you try to actually focus on it, it just kind of goes everywhere. So, Warcraft Direct on November 13th. Excited for it, by the way. What are they going to announce, and what can they announce, and why wasn't a BlizzCon this year? Well, there's a couple of reasons, I think. Last year was huge. Like, they announced the World Soul Saga, Season of Discovery. There's a lot of stuff. Now, the thing with that is, what are they going to announce this year at Warcraft Direct? Or what can they? Now, I needed that. What can they announce that's reasonable? Well, we know Mob Classic's being announced. I'd be very surprised. Like, they've done everything but announce it. Surveys. We may or may not be releasing Kata. Hint, 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 hint. It's very similar, guys. It's like song and dance here. Firelands got delayed for some weird reason. Kata's kind of been a little bit of a mess, I'm not going to lie about it. But I also want to talk about the supposed fresh that everyone's been banging on about. I'll be honest with this. Until I see it happen, I don't believe it. Why? Well, because it always happens. Every single year this type of thing happens. Someone heard from someone this X is going to happen. And then you really think about it, this makes no bloody sense whatsoever. Now, I'm going to go over the hardcore and classic fresh first. Okay. What reason does Blizzard have to do a fresh for WoW? Like, let's really talk about that. Especially hardcore. Well, let's cover both those. What are the pros and cons? Well, 1, fresh. Everybody jumps into it, and everyone's like, yay, it's fresh! Everyone jumps into it, everyone gets level 60, and then it dies. Every single time. That is how that works, guys. Every single time. You don't believe me? What happened to SOM? Remember that? Remember everybody was so excited, it's so much better, it's just a little bit of changes. Everyone gets to 60, that whole race to rag thing happened, and then it died. At the end of that, there wasn't even 2,000 people playing practically. You tell me. Now, yeah, you could make the argument, well, TVC was still new. Fine. But it still goes to the point, the biggest part that people look forward to when it comes to the original game is the leveling. And unfortunately, a lot of people say, you spend so much. No, you really don't. Not anymore. Like, averagely, we're talking, what, a week to 2? Maybe a month if you're really dragging your feet. Maybe. And if you can't find any dungeons to do, okay, sure, maybe a month or 2, maybe. I would argue you spend much more time now at endgame than you do beginning. On top of that, actually, no. Let's talk about why. Well, I'll be really blunt. I will say this 100%. The end game of Classic sucks. Yeah, I said it. Now, don't get me wrong. Is MC fun? First couple times, sure. It's fun. Solid. BWL, same thing. It's fun. AQ40, worst raid Blizzard has ever made in history. Yeah, I said it. It is. Sod, Phase 6. Why is no one excited for it? Because AQ sucks. The trash is annoying, the boss fights are boring and annoying, and they're not even annoying fun way. And it's just hard enough. It's just hard enough where it's like, well, it's not hard, but it's annoying hard, except for the stupid worm boss that no one wants to kill because it's annoying to do. And then you got that stupid blob boss for some dumb reason. Someone decided there's like, hey, this would be really cool if you need a frost weapon to kill the boss at the final. Like, sure, that sounds really cool in context. And back in 04, yeah, you're right, everyone thought it was really cool, I'm sure. But again, does it make it fun? Is it still cool? No, it's not. It's annoying. Absolutely annoying. I'm going over this specifically because why would they release a fresh? And I know there's a bunch of, well, we want it. Sure. But ultimately what really happens with it, people miss it. Sure. And then they level through it. And then they get bored of it. And then they leave. Why do I know that? This number hasn't changed since Wrath, guys, just so you know. Oh, no, Phase 2 Wrath. Phase 2 Wrath. That's when this number kind of popped up. Oh, and the whole Deviant Delight thing. Like, yeah, and I said that it would be dead in 6 months. Let's see. Like, where is it? Oh, look. Oh, 209 people. Oh, wow. Well, yeah, that's a big number there. The supposed explosive server that everybody's so excited to play. Huh, yeah, sure. Shocker, right? And I know I'm being really critical here and mean about this, and I'm sorry if anyone who really likes Fresh and likes the original game, but real talk, you have error for that. And realistically, I know there's a lot of people that constantly want that constant Fresh, but honestly, it's not maintainable. It gets boring very quickly. So why would Blizzard release Fresh? I have no clue, if I'm being honest. There's no reason to. Aside from there is a lot of people complain about it, but honestly, on that end, I would make the argument people are more complaining about TBC and Wrath Era way more, and I will get to that in a minute. So, Hardcore Fresh. This makes even less sense. You are making a fresh server of something where people have one life anyway. Why? It evens itself out. Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Absolutely no sense. What will they announce? For sure. Mop Classic for sure. If there was, they will announce it. Hopefully, and this is a mistake I feel they did with Kata, they do more changes. They do more changes. Heaven and mercy, I hope they do more changes. If they're not going to, I hope they at least stick to the cadence. Because one of the reasons why Kata did fall... Wow, that's depressing. It actually dropped from last time we died. To this point, is because stuff took too long. Cataclysm just doesn't have the same... Cataclysm isn't bad, okay? It's not. The raids are solid, especially tier 11. Firelands is fun. People are really waiting for that, and that number will jump up when that finally gets released. But itemization, Cataclysm is very annoying, for one, especially for tanks. Can state this. The balance is very it's to the point where I don't know if this is still the case in Firelands, but I know for the first tier Death Knight tanks are so overpowered, it's like, why the heck would you play anything else? And this is kind of one of the problems of a solid game, is everybody knows everything. That's just kind of it. Now, even still, though, is this still way more people than Era? Oh, yeah. Way more people. Cataclysm can hold people more than Classic can. I know no one wants to hear that, because I know there's a lot of people that love Classic, and more power to you. But speaking to someone that's been there back since 2004, for 20 years, been playing it for 20 years, guys, I was there, right? I see the flaws, and that's the difference. Now, why does Classic games suck? Well, it's really simple, actually. When you're leveling, you have variety. When you're at endgame, you have no variety. The class balance is so bad, it's so ridiculously obvious what you're going to do. And I know there's defense, but I like being that one druid that doesn't do anything. You are one person out of probably 10,000, sir. I am sorry, or ma'am. That is such a niche player base to begin with, right? And if you like healing, I'm not knocking you or anything, but the idea of going to a raid and knowing every single thing you do is horrible just feels bad. When you're leveling, you don't have that. You have a much variety of specs. That's why people like to level. Something they fixed in Wrath. And so in TBC. But that's also playstyle. But the fact is, class balance in Classic is just overall bad. It's just really, really bad. Really bad. Overall. I don't think there's any denying that. You have way overpowered things like mage farming and AoE farming and that whole jazz. There's a whole bunch of other problems with that, but just kind of my point. But going back to Warcraft Direct and what will they actually announce for Classic, MoP, I'm not going to say it's impossible they don't announce a Classic Fresh or a Hardcore Fresh. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I just don't understand why they do it. It's very... Why? If they're doing it Hardcore Fresh, it's going to be for the streamers. That's why. There's no other reason. It's not for players. The thing about Hardcore, it's really fun to watch. It's not fun to play. For a lot of people. Like, I've talked to people that love Classic that go, I still don't want to play Hardcore. Like, yeah, duh, because it's a very different game. Now, what would be something I could see them doing at this point, if they do release a Fresh, it's not going to be a Classic Fresh by itself. I think, if anything, this is the year where they release, now if they do it, Hardcore, actually let me go back, TBC, Wrath, and Classic Fresh, along with, attached to those, Hardcore versions of each one. Hardcore TBC, Hardcore Wrath, and Hardcore Classic Fresh. All together. Now, what makes this different? It's variety. You have people that like playing TBC. That's their favorite version of the game. You have people that like playing Wrath. That's their favorite version of the game. You have people that like Classic. That's their favorite version of the game. Now, granted, they have Era, but still. They would only have to probably do 1 or 2 servers, realistically, for TBC and Wrath put together. Now, what I mean is by that, 1 PvE, 1 PvP, 1 PvE, 1 PvE for each. I think you'd be fine with that. I could see them doing that. Why? That's hype. That will get a lot of people back. There are a lot of people that like TBC, and there are a lot of people that like Wrath. There are people that like Classic too, but real talk, I mean, at the end of Wrath, there was still, what, 400,000? I really need to learn how to look that up if I use this enough. But there was about 400,000 people playing, roughly. There's a lot of people. A lot of people playing Wrath, you know? And it's not hard to see why. I'm not gonna lie and say GKP's had a good portion of it, but you can make the argument Lucata has GKP's too, so, you know, you could also say that too. Now, I haven't talked about SOD yet. There's a reason for that. What are they going to announce with SOD? So here comes a problem with SOD. Blizzard needs to think of something. And a couple of people have said this too, and I'm going to say it too. Realistically, with Classic overall, what we need is a roadmap. We need, where is SOD going? Like, are we getting a SOD era of some type? Are we getting SOD TBC? Which, I'm not going to lie, I think that would be absolutely super fun to play, and I'd give it a shot at the very least, because that sounds so much fun. SOD has its problem, but that's not what I'm talking about in this video. It could go on forever if I do that. But the point I'm trying to make, what could they announce for Classic in the Warcraft Direct? It's going to be MoP of some type. If they only do a Hardcore Classic Fresh and a Hardcore and just a Classic Fresh, it's a mistake. I'm gonna say it. It's just a mistake. It's Blizzard has an opportunity to be explosive, and real talk, that's really what it needs right now. Are there people that just want to play TBC because they miss it? Yeah, sure, there are. I get it. It's just old enough, and I know I'm not the only person that said this, and I get what you're saying, but the thing is, and this is the question I would ask, if they're due to a release of TBC, is there going to be changes? That's a question too, and this is another thing I wonder why they're so hesitant to do it fresh. Because people have played SOD, and people have played Era for a long time. Now, I'm going to step on a hot topic here. The Alliance version of Warchief's Blessing, Might of Stormwind. Now, I don't play Era, so keep that in mind. I have no foot in this race, but do I think it's really funny to see people go crazy over the fact that druids could use polearms despite nobody actually using polearms? An Alliance version of a world buff that already exists that doesn't stack with the other world buff? No, because it changes absolutely nothing. It's true, guys. I'm sorry. It's fact. It changes nothing. 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 It changes nothing. It changes nothing. Like, I mean, we can make the argument, and this is the reason I'm wondering why they're worried to do fresh. I'm willing to bet anything. People are going to demand some changes. Because it happened the first time. The first time it re-released, there was people that said, we don't really like this. How long did people complain about world buffs? And then Blizzard said, well, you guys said hashtag no changes, you know. You said hashtag no changes. Yeah, aren't we brilliant? That's why we wanted spell batching back too in the classic PvP system, because we're... I was not in favor of that. Now, granted, I wasn't on the classic bandwagon either, and I wasn't playing. And when I looked at it, I'll be honest, I kind of shrugged my shoulders like, oh, that'll be fun for some people. Cool, have fun. Why? Well, that's a whole nother video for a whole nother discussion. But to put it very simply, classic and vanilla are not even the same thing for too many reasons to name. That's as far as I'm going to go on that topic. Anyway, so... I wonder if that's a reason too. Because people did play TBC. We've played Classic. And you know, are there some people that just wanted no changes? Yes. But are there little tweaks that could be made to each version? Yeah. TBC would be a much better game with dual spec. I said it. It's fact. Would Classic be a better game with dual spec? Yeah, it would. I know it was a big discussion back in the day. It still is a big discussion, you know? Depending on who you ask. Some people hate it. Some people think it's good. But even if they don't like it, they can... Most people, I feel, can admit the game would just be better for it. For the most part. Anyway. But let's move on to SOD. Now... What could they announce for SOD? Aside from Phase 6, I don't know what the problem is, right? Even what I do know about what I think they're doing some weird affix for AQ. Okay, sure, it sounds like it could be a little bit cool. I just don't think it's enough. AQ is a bad raid. There's no getting around it. What could they announce outside of... One thing I do think that could be cool that they could do, at this point, to kind of breathe some life back into it, they could scale up the level up raids and make each a level 60 version of each one of those. That, I think, could be cool. Now, are there some problems with that? Yeah, but real talk, I just don't see how they can make AQ good. That is the biggest problem, because AQ fundamentally is the most fresh servers die at AQ. It's either getting to level 60 or it's AQ. There's a very good reason for that. AQ is just a bad raid. There's no other way to put it. Why do you think everyone's excited for opening of the gates? Because it's the best thing about it. There's nothing good about AQ. As I said earlier, it's annoying. It's too big. Outside of, outside of putting teleporters in there, maybe maybe? I can't think of anything else, or making the trash less annoying that would help, but real talk, guys. AQ is just a bad raid. It just is. And I know there's going to be a couple of people, it's like, I loved AQ. You're... okay. More power to you. Because here's the thing. There's always going to be an exception to the rule, right? And honestly, most of those people I would ask, is it the raid you love, or is it the loot from AQ that you love? Because that's not the same thing, and you know it. Yeah. Anyway, that pretty much covers what I have to say about Classic as far as announcements go. The biggest thing that I could possibly see them announce for Classic, if anything at all, like I said earlier, would be a fresh version of the 3 trilogy and hardcores of each. I know there's a lot of people have said, like, oh, but what about the rotation fresh? I mean, that could happen too. Sure. I gotta be honest. Sure, have fun, I guess. Seems like a really weird time to announce it, especially when it's competing with SOD, which separates the player base even more. At the very least, with the Error Realms, they're always going to be there, and that's like another take-up as well. But, or they could just go full troll, and honestly, I would laugh. I don't think they'll do this, but I'd laugh my head off. Was just, where guys are giving you a fresh, hardcore Cata Realm. I'm sorry, I'd laugh my head off. I'd laugh so hard. I would. I know that's mean, but I'd laugh so hard. I'm not gonna lie about it. Or, you know, that could be a thing too. They could just announce, heck, why not? At this point, fresh of all 4 in hardcore, all 4 attached to it. They could do that too. That'd be interesting for sure. And yeah, they're gonna announce MOP at the very least, or they're gonna announce something with it. I don't know what they'll announce, but they'll announce MOP in some capacity. If nothing else, just to say it's there. Classic Plus. I don't think we're hearing anything about that for at least another 2 years. At least. That's a whole nother video. And that's why I'm not saying anything else about that. Modern. Next patch. Maybe some revamp of some systems. I'd like to see them address certain things with the gearing, for sure. But that's not really something they... Like, the thing about Modern at this point, it's solid. It's in a very solid point. There's some problems, for sure. But they're not things that you talk about on stage. Like, you could say the new patch, okay, that's going to be talked about. Maybe there's a cinematic for the new patch. Midnight? Why, at this point? Like, we know... It's like we're only at the first patch of War Within. Like, it seems really early to be talking about Midnight is the thing. I can't really think of anything else they can really talk about with Modern, if I'm being honest. And see, that's the biggest problem with this year's BlizzCon, and I think they didn't do an actual BlizzCon. There's not much to talk about right now. I think any of the things that they are talking about specifically is WoW, either one, are so in development they're not ready to be talked about, or 2, they're focusing on other things. So, again, now, in a perfect world, I'd love for them to talk about Classic Plus, right? Or just give us a little tidbit, but I just don't see it. I don't see it because, again, this is a whole nother video, but to put it very simply, we don't even know what Classic Plus should be. What the heck makes you think Blizzard could even fathom what it should be? Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. Hope you guys all have a good day and night. This is Mega Casual. Sign out.